Good afternoon, and what you're listening to At the Table here on netrootsradio.com. But if you're listening to it like right now at 3:12 Eastern, it is good afternoon, and welcome to At the Table here on Spreaker.com. For some reason, I'm not able to hear myself, so that doesn't mean too much. So, hey, on today's show, it's going to be a little bit more focused on the blithering than normal. Yay! As usual, I'm sitting at the Starbucks here on East 87th and Lexington Avenue in New York City with people staring at me because I'm talking into my headphones, and who knows if anybody is actually listening to me right now. I don't know. I need to go check. Anyway, what can I say? Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving and that you didn't overeat, or if you did overeat, that it was well contained. And let me see what else is good. And you just had good times with your family and your friends, and you enjoyed watching the parades, whether you watched the Macy's parade or the Chicago parade on TV, or you were at the parades live, whether it was at a parade in your city, town, village. You spent it with family, with friends. You did a day of service. You spent the day in reflection. Because the original day of Thanksgiving was, for the Puritans, a fast day. That's what a Thanksgiving was. So, and we have been so brainwashed by the mythology that grew up in the country in the 19th century that it is profoundly debilitating to who we are as a nation when you start seeing, why be thankful, genocide, and all of that. You forget that, we're still coming out of that bleeding edge of mythos of Americans as the perfection of humanity, when we all know that's not true. We are human beings, and as a result, we just fail. It's what we do. It's who we are. If we were perfect, we wouldn't need religion, we wouldn't have hatred, we wouldn't have a need to sour ourselves with pettiness and the like. My Thanksgiving Day, I spent it alone. I cooked for myself. I used I love working with a slow cooker, as I've said before. And on this day, I prior to that, I slow cooked for 9 hours a 2.44 pound half turkey breast, bone in, and I set it, quartered an onion, and rested the turkey breast on top of the onion, put garlic underneath, turned it till warm, which is the lowest setting on the crock pot, and left it for 9 hours to perfectly steam. It came out gorgeous and beautiful. I put some herbs, an herb blend on the top of the meat and the skin to flavor it. I don't cook with salt, especially when I slow cook. I haven't cooked with salt since I was in high school, and I discovered I blew up like a balloon. I've been on a low sodium diet since then, but you didn't need to hear that. I also bought some fresh cranberry and a couple of apples, and I stole the recipe from a website. I can't remember the name of the website, but I made an apple chutney, a cranberry apple chutney. That's what they call it. It didn't have onions in it, so it wasn't a real chutney, but that was really delicious, and it was a great way to do cranberries outside of jellying them. Needed to use maybe a little bit more honey, and maybe instead of just half an apple, since I was just making this for myself, used an entire apple. A little on the tart side, but that's fine. Had steamed vegetables, had some nice music on, had a glass of wine with my dinner, gave thanks for all the people that are in my life, and the people, really, even though I ate alone, I wasn't alone. And there is indeed a difference between being alone and being lonely. And, you can't do better than thinking about your friends and your family, knowing that part of your family, you're in New York, part of your family's in Florida, and the rest of it's out in California, and nobody's getting together. But it was also, but this Thanksgiving was also for my family, perhaps for yours, not a very happy time. My sister-in-law passed away 1 week before their 41st wedding anniversary. So this was the first Thanksgiving without her. First thing, it's tough for my brother and my nephews. It's tough for me. I miss her, but we remember what she gave to us and how much she loved us, and what a wonderful woman she was and is. I like the comment by Harlan Ellison in his story, The Paladin of the Lost Hour. The old man says to the young man, as the old man is sitting next to the grave of his deceased wife, he says, as long as someone remembers, you are not truly dead. And as long as we remember those who have left us, they are immortal because we remember. And I think that is what immortality is all about. Do we remember you once you have left the plane of physical manifestation? And that, to me, is an important thing. I think it's important for all of us to remember. So that was my Thanksgiving. I watched the parades, watched movies. I'll talk about them. I watched Frost Nixon again. It's a great film if you haven't seen it. And I will talk about that a little bit later in the show. So, and again, it's all how you remember.
What about there?
No, so
Okay, thanks.
I'm gonna give you a little break here. Be a little bit of Buzz Aldrin and Rocket Experience.
Riding orbits in my mind, it's time. All you need is to come with me.
good. It's a bit of a mess when you can't hear yourself.
Are you ready to put on your spacesuit? Strapped in for the G-Force liftoff. Countdown is getting very close now to the adventure of a lifetime. I've been there, now I say it's your turn. All we gotta do is make the engine burn. Let's take a trip on an orbital spaceship. This is how we will reach the stars. Stars, 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 stars.
No atmosphere here. Let's make sure that you've got your feet underneath you. Lack of gravity. Lack of gravity. Lack of gravity. Gravity.
All you need is the rocket experience.
Beautiful view. Magnificent desolation.
What you need is the rocket experience.
Bud, you're cleared for takeoff.
All you need is the rocket experience.
Roger, understand. We're number one on the runway.
All you need is the rocket experience. It's all you need.
To go flying into outer space.
I am the spaceman.
See this world as a beautiful place.
I am the rocket man.
All mankind, one human race.
It's time to venture far. Let's take a trip to Mars. Our destiny is to the stars. All you need is the rocket experience.
Welcome to a moment of dead air. That was Buzz Aldrin and his ramp rocket experience. You're listening to At the Table here on Spreaker.com, and a little bit later this evening you'll also be hearing this on live on tape on netrootsradio.com. I had planned on, well, as you all know, I tend to ramble a lot, and because of that, I tend to jump from topic to topic to topic. I'm trying not to do that today. I'm trying to actually keep this more structured than ordinary, and I'm hoping it's going to work. It might not be as interesting. Thinking you guys all tune in because I am just blithering live and whatever else you want to say. This first part of this is all about giving thanks and being thankful for everything that we have. And sometimes it's like really difficult to do that. So one of the things I've discovered in my is it's an old scan from my Discordian pals. I mean, it's such an old scan. The scan is yellow with age, but it talks about take the page out of the Book of Illumination. We're all Illuminati. So, and it's actually, when you think about this, it's really quite accurate. And this was done in the 70s, I think, or the 80s. The Democratic Party is listed in the sphere of discord. Republicans in the sphere of confusion. Chaos, you've got, this is tell you how old it is. It has the Politburo, the SDS, Masons, Shriner. You know, it's basically a lot of nonsense, because that's really what our religion is about. that's why today's show is thank Eris. Black Friday is done, and yeah, got to give thanks for Black Friday being done. I worked yesterday as a vendor's rep for a major computer manufacturer, so I was in my store from noon until 7 yesterday, and it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. They had put masking tape on the floor to direct the traffic flow so people wouldn't like bang into each other, which kind of worked, except when they decided to do the traffic flow for the printer line for the registers of where I am. Half of it went through my space, and my particular display doesn't have that much space to begin with. And I'm so glad I did not have a busy day as far as sales went. And so, just happy about that. People were not trying to murder each other, unlike other places in America. According to this news app that I have called Breaking News, there were, let's see, a mall. We have here shootings. We have here from yesterday. We had there was a shooting at Coral Square Mall in Coral Springs, Florida, which shut them all down. There was a shooting at a mall, at the Hamilton Place Mall in Chattanooga. It was just really a crazy day. You know, is Black Friday really worth it? I mean, most of the deals aren't that much of a deal. They know damn well that they're going to be gone and people are going to be outraged. Just stay away. Just chill on Friday. Chill on Thursday. I'm 61. I remember when Thanksgiving, everything was closed. People did not work on Thanksgiving Day. People stayed home were able to stay home with their families instead of having to go to work early in the day or eat our dinner at 3 o'clock because I have to be at work at 5. You know, we must remember that the holidays are about, like, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, 4th of July. These days are about being relaxing, being with your family, celebrating. Not, oh my God, I have to get to the store for work, or I have to get to the store in line early for the best prices available. I mean, some of the stores in my chain, they had people wrapped around the block for the deals. Okay, that fortunately in our store it wasn't chaos, or everybody was kind to each other. They weren't fighting over stuff. Some people figured they'd come in when it wasn't as crazy, and then they'd get the stuff, but by the time they came in, the Black Friday deals were gone, and it was just, there, just not necessary to have that sort of thing happening. It's just not necessary. It's not needed. And so, moving on from that, one of the things that has got my knickers in a twist is all the people who are very, very upset about the election of Donald Trump to the presidency, and I think he's doing a good enough job pissing off the people that were initially celebrating him for all his honesty. But I remember during all the time that the folks on the right were keyboard commandoing that how we used to make fun of them for ranting and railing at their keyboard. We called them keyboard commandos. Well, I now see that phenomenon occurring among the upset, peeved left, and it's pretty damn annoying. It really is annoying because everybody's paralyzed by the concern of mottos. They go low, we go high, but in a lot of ways, it constrains you from fighting back. It constrains you from speaking out for fear of offending. And some on the extreme left have taken advantage of this by basically calling anything you do as a European American racism. I was brought up to accept somebody, to not judge somebody by what they look like, but who they are inside, who they are as a person. And that is, it's a combination of the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or Martin Luther King most famously said it, where people are judged by the content are judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And no, I'm an unconscious racist if I don't verbally acknowledge somebody's skin color. And I'm an unconscious racist if I say I want to support you. Because we all know that ethnically white people can't support ethnically, people that aren't European Americans. And so it's put this whole concept of who we are as Americans into more balkanization, more divides, more, and a lot of this balkanization is what has given rise to the resurgence of the Nazi movement, the white nationalist movement, white supremacy, and Donald Trump has not, and our president-elect, oh God, I said that, isn't. Well, he's not exactly fanning the coals. He's not exactly putting dirt on it to smother it. He said, he's more upset about people protesting, peacefully out, their displeasure. Oh my God, it's like. And somebody brought up today, and with all of these keyboard warriors, I put it out to some of my fellows on Facebook, and that we need to put our voice out there to start, internet radio, podcasts, internet radio, like the here, Netroots Radio, and Spreaker.com, and, doing YouTube videos, just like the whack jobs on the right have done, And they're saying, but we can't do it, and they bring up Air America. They think I'm talking about, Air America, progressive voices. We need more voices. all of us need to be speaking up if we don't agree with what is going on in the world, in America. If we believe that this is not right, that how we are, we wring our hands over how Trump supporters are attacking without provocation 12-year-old girls, screaming Hillary bitches at women on an airplane, and Delta not doing anything about it. We just sit there and go, oh my, we don't do anything. We will just do a petition, and that's about it. We will recirculate these. My Facebook feed looks like it is not just in reruns, but in syndication on a lot of stuff. And I'm sure your Facebook page is too. I'm an old school internet troll. I will nail your ass without having to resort to pictures because I can use words to express my opinions. But we have a lot of people that need to have little green frogs with swastikas, intimidation. The way you defeat this is that you don't let it. Oh yes, let it. If it disturbs you, but don't let your enemy know. Don't let them know it works. Because then it gets worse. There was a very interesting article about a guy who has a fake news farm, and he makes a shit ton of money off of right-wingers with fake news because they fall for it. And the reason, and people who aren't extreme right-winger conspiracy theorists, there's no money in that. Fake news is all about the money. So whenever you see something online that looks interesting or comes through your Facebook feed, click on the article, but then before you retweet it, check and make sure that there is a linked source, legitimate news source. If you're not sure, check, just don't blindly retweet something, and if you, read the article before commenting on it, more than just, thumbs up, thumbs down, hate this thing, makes me angriest. But, for example, for those of you that love the Hallelujah chorus at Christmas time from Handel's Messiah, it was written, the Messiah is actually an Easter oratorio. And there is some dispute, but there was a very excellent article that I posted after I made my post about the fact that in this, the Hallelujah chorus actually is celebrating the destruction of Jerusalem. And some people and I did post the link on it, and further down I have to go back and re-edit it. But in this article that is talks about this, that from the context of the 19th century, it is celebrating Christianity as the new Jews, and and why I'm going to put this out there. We Jews are the master race because you tried to wipe us out. Because the world history has tried to wipe us off the face of the, out of memory for millennia, and they've never been able to do it. From Roman to the present. And, that speaks to a pride of place and how we view ourselves and how we cannot be done in by people's fears, by people's vanities. And I'm going to go back to my keyboard commandos now that I've done my rant. And I'm doing this in terms of also of witches, Wiccans. And, for a Wiccan, their watchword is if it harms none, do what you want. And yet but it's paralyzing because you really can't do anything you want because it's gonna harm somebody. But if you live by a motto that more or less prevents you from fighting back, And you have to remember, again, that if you're fighting against people with, you can't, fight a fourth grader the same way you would fight if you're in high school. Well, you can, you can't, you can, if a fourth grader hits you, you can't really hit back, but on the internet, if a fourth grader hits you, smack them back. Slap their internet zeros and ones into next Tuesday. And as I've said before, but we don't work together. We are all independent, We don't have a place where we can congregate and say, oh, let's create memes. This is what these people, white supremacists, neo-Nazis, these involuntary celibates, these losers, people who couldn't get laid, even, they go into their own little echo chambers and they have production meetings. They sit around and they say, how about this meme? That one sucks. And they tweak their memes because they don't do these on their own. They sit around and they have a production meeting. They have a writer's room. And to my mind, if we're going to, fight the meme mind virus war, we have to do the same thing, because Richard Dawkins talks about the mind virus in his book, Virus of the Mind. And we need to, and what a mind virus is, it's something that replicates itself to stay alive. Now ask yourself, what is the purpose of hating somebody else's skin color, their religion? What is the survival factor of that? Think about that. Consider that. And strike them where it hurts. I mean, my Facebook profile has a yellow star and said, this huge will kick your cowardly ass. And I will, because I come from a long line of resistors. It is in my nature to kick your white supremacist ass. And I know I'm using "and" a lot, but this is just so I can keep a thought process going. When you all got when you got your keyboard commandos going, you got to remember that that just because you're being behind that keyboard doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. Getting out is what it's about. Being on the streets, showing up. Start up. If you're a liberal, progressive Democrat and you own a weapon, and your state has an open carry, start open carrying it. Start carrying it. Let them know that we own firearms too. There was another gun run today, after Trump's election. That everybody, you've got, I can't, just can't. It's like nothing has ever changed. The gun lobby is still stoking fear. And so my feeling is, go for it. If you can buy a firearm and it's legal to have one in your city, go ahead and buy it. I live in New York. Getting a gun privately owning a firearm is very difficult here in New York City. I live in a building where I can't own a firearm because it's it's supportive housing. And they have specific rules about that. And so I'm going to go back to an article by Umberto Eco, who wrote The Name of the Rose, great book. And he writes This is his memoirs. In 1942, at the age of 10, I received the first provincial award of Ludi Juvenalis, a voluntary compulsory competition for young Italian fascists. That is, for every young Italian. I elaborated with rhetorical skill on the subject, should we die for the glory of Mussolini and the immortal destiny of Italy? My answer was positive. I was a smart boy.
What's a restaurant?
I spent 2 of my early years among the SS, fascists, Republicans, and partisans, shooting at one another, and I learned how to dodge bullets. It was a good exercise. In 1945, the partisans took over in Milan. 2 days later, they arrived in the small town where I was living at the time. It was a moment of joy. The main square was crowded with people singing and waving flags, calling in loud voices to Mimo, the partisan leader of the area. He goes on to read, say, a few days later, I saw the first American soldiers. They were African Americans.
I'm so glad.
Think of that. The first Americans Umberto Eco saw as a young man were African American soldiers.
After marriage?
The first Yankee I met was a black man. Joseph introduced me to the marvels of Dick Tracy and Lil Abner, and he goes on.
Yesterday?
My first image of American liberators was thus: after so many pale faces and black shirts, that of a cultivated black man in a yellow-green uniform said, "Oui, merci beaucoup, madame. Moi, aussi, jamais la champagne." Unfortunately, there was no champagne, but Captain Muddy gave me my first piece of Wrigley Spearmint, and I started, okay. He goes on to talk to what became fascist.
If you just go to grad school and not work, that might be a bad idea.
And not, yeah.
That might be a bad idea. That's something.
In my country today, and this again is today, and again he's speaking post-liberation. In my country today, there are some who say that the War of Liberation was a tragic period of division, and that all we need is national reconciliation. The memory of those terrible years should be repressed, or refoulé, verdrängen causes neurosis. Reconciliation means compassion and respect for all those who fought their own war in good faith. To forgive does not mean to forget. I can even admit that Eichmann sincerely believed in his mission, but I cannot say, okay, come back and do it again. We are here to remember what happened and solemnly say that they must not do it again. But who are they? But who are they?
Makes sense. Yeah.
If Mussolini's fascism was based upon the idea of charismatic ruler, on corporatism, on the utopia of the imperial fate of Rome, on an imperialistic will to conquer new territories, on an exacerbated nationalism, on the ideal of an entire nation in black shirts, on the rejection of parliamentary democracy, on anti-Semitism, then I have no difficulty in acknowledging that today the Italian Alleanza Nazionale, born from the post-war fascist party, MSI, and certainly a right-wing party, has by now very little to do with the old fascism. In the same vein, even though I am much concerned about the various Nazi-like movements that have arisen here and there in Europe, including Russia, I do not think that Nazism, in its original form, is about to reappear as a nationwide movement. Who are they? Who are they? That is the question.
I'm not hungry anymore. But you think this right now, the way you're sitting here, is it a lot?
Echo's second point. There was only one Nazism. We cannot label Franco's hyper-Catholic phalangism as Nazism, since Nazism is fundamentally pagan, polytheistic, and anti-Christian, even though that is not really true. But the fascist game can be played in many forms, and the name of the game does not change. The notion of fascism is not unlike Wittgenstein's notion of a game. A game can be either competitive or not. It can require some special skill or none. It can or cannot involve money. Games are different activities that display only some family resemblance, as Wittgenstein put it. And he goes on. It's an awesome article, and it's called Ur-Fascism, and it was published in the June 1995 issue. And just a wonderful article. I heartily recommend reading it. That's about the most I can say about that. And we're going to have another little break here. Dun-dun-dun-dun. I'm going to try a little experiment here. I'm going to see if I can close you off and continue broadcasting. Hopefully we'll continue broadcasting. Oh, great, we are. So I can actually go to my iTunes. Woo! iTunes Music, where are we here? And, music. And I'm going to find some other stuff that we can... we got here. Where's Yap Yap? Some of my other fun stuff. So I'm not really sure how I can do this. Yeah, we're here. Not even here is. I'm just having a great time. We're here at very, very noisy Starbucks. It's 6 minutes before the hour here on Spreaker.com and NetRootsRadio.com. And let's see, we got another song. Oh, there we are. This is so much fun. I can't find it. La 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 la. Anyway. I just love doing this. I'm just blithering on right now because I'm trying to find some stuff here. Seriously, dudes? Seriously? I mean, it's on my iPhone, but the song can't be found on my iPad. That is sort of like really ridiculous. Darn it all to heck. I'm having and there's the people watching. This place suddenly got busy just before I started talking to myself. I know what I wanted to do, what we want to do for the next 20 minutes. As I said earlier in the podcast, over Thanksgiving, I rewatched Frost Nixon. And if you haven't watched this movie, or you haven't even watched the original interview, which was done in 1977, it concerns the late Sir David Frost, who made his chops interviewing Richard Nixon after he resigned and actually nailing his ass to the wall regarding Watergate. The Frost-Nixon interview was the only time Nixon ever spoke about Watergate. And it's very, very compelling. You can find the interview up on YouTube. You can rent the movie, get the movie, see the movie. It is absolutely brilliant. There is one part in the film, and I don't know if it's something that actually occurred or was written by the screenwriters. who adapted the whole story regarding let me do this back. Actually, if you do a search on your device, be it Android, Apple, or Windows, just do a search for Frost Nixon. It was made. The film was made in 2008, and you can rent it. It's just freaking brilliant. It was a play. It was a stage adaptation. Let me see if I can find some more information on this. I'm going to go to Wikipedia on this for some information. It's brilliant. There is a scene in the play and in the movie that don't know if it was something that actually occurred, which was Nixon, Frost is calling room service, and he picks up the phone, and Nixon's on the other end of the phone, and Frost's request for a hamburger leads Nixon into this rant about how neither one of them are, quote, good enough to rub elbows with the hoi polloi. There's this whole catharsis about station in life and fighting for everything from Nixon, which is just really, really a fascinating insight that, like I said, I don't know if this actually occurred or not, but it's a brilliant piece of writing because it actually says a lot about President Nixon and how he felt about everything, that everybody was always against him, and he felt bullied his entire life. And in that regard, like I said, the cathartic value of what Nixon is saying, we don't even know if it's bullshit or not, but because through this entire sequence of interviews, Nixon has been playing mind games with Frost, and in doing so, getting him to let him ramble on and on and on. But it's this phone call where Nixon goes off on that whole concept of not being good enough and trying to better oneself and being resented for it. More or less has a turning point for Frost in how he conducted the interviews, and it got him to actually focus on what was said in the White House with the Watergate tapes. And it's where there's a whole sequence in the play, the film, and actually in the interviews, go to the interviews, where Nixon does say it's not, he doesn't think that he's breaking the law if he's got people spying on his political opposition, because everybody is out to get him. There's a paranoia in Nixon that comes through when he starts talking, that actually is there when he starts talking about Watergate. And the interviews were compelling. And particularly the final interview where David Frost gets Nixon to apologize to the American people, apologizing for to Nixon is one of the most difficult, spirit-wrenching things he could have done. You know, on top of the fact that while he was in office, Nixon did some very good things. He signed into law that which gave the 18, 19, and 20-year-olds the vote, because at the time, the realization was, why can't I vote if you're drafting me and sending me off to Vietnam to kill or be killed or both? And Republicans have been fighting that ever since. Nixon signed the EPA into law. Wasn't the best president, but he did some very, very good things for this country. You know, he shut the wall, he dropped the bamboo curtain on China, and he raised it again when he went back to China, which was very important to the world. So, got to weigh that. But I heartily recommend that you watch the original Frost-Nixon interviews, especially the last one dealing with Watergate. You can find it. There is the original. Oh, it's gone, damn it. But if you go, the actual interview website is gone, but you can find them up on YouTube. And just, I can't talk enough about, I remember watching them. And I had just graduated high school when these things aired, and just amazing watching David Frost go from this amicable talk show host into this monkey grab the peach journalist. And in my opinion, our today's television journalists need to go back to monkey grabbing the peach. Look it up if you don't know what that means. You know, and you know, we've got even more things going. We already know that thin skin is very thin-skinned, and he's a very vengeful individual, and so he's not happy that the news media is using quote-unquote unflattering photos of him, showing him with awkward facial expressions, or his double chins or his sagging chins. He thinks that's awfully disrespectful, but man, that's how it goes when you are now President of the United States. You can't sue people over the photos they use. And my feeling is that we should continue to mock. And just I'm sure there's a whole, shit ton of making fun of, Now I'm looking at this, I don't see a single good picture of him, So it's, you gotta keep mocking and mocking and mocking and mocking. Or as Fareed Zakaria says, I'm gonna play this for you just because I love playing this. This is Fareed Zakaria on Trump.
Sensitive and volatile issue. Well, there's a pattern here, Wolf. Every time it is demonstrated that Donald Trump is plainly ignorant about some basic public policy issue, some well-known fact, he comes back with a certain bravado and tries to explain it away with a tweet or a statement. I mean, he did it on Brexit. He did it on the nuclear triad. He did it really on how U.S. debt markets work. He thought that Tim Kaine was the governor of New Jersey, and now with this. And it's amusing to watch how is he going to pull it off this time. What is he going to argue? Usually he adds that the press hates him, but there's a term for this kind of thing. This is the mode of a bullshit artist, and it's sometimes amusing, it's entertaining, if the guy is trying to sell you a condo or a car. But for a president of the United States, it's deeply worrying. Is there?
It's now 5 minutes before the hour, and I'm going to leave you here. I want you to remember to stay, if you're listening later this evening, at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, to stay tuned for Katie Speaks with Katie Klobuchar here on netrootsradio.com. Thank you for listening to At the Table. Now stay tuned to Katie Speaks with Katie Klobuchar here on netrootsradio.com.